Welcome to today's video. We're going to talk about the brutal truths between the guys that go unnoticed by women versus the guys that actually create attraction. So if you're new to the channel here, my name is David J. Kelly, and I want you to make sure that you're subscribed because I'm putting videos out like this constantly to help build yourself as a man. Make sure you watch all the way to the end because I have a special surprise and gift to you at the end of this video that I think is going to help you a lot. So without further delay, let's get right into it. Most men in today's world are completely invisible to women. And most women just won't tell you this, right? But if you look at data on dating apps and things of that nature, you'll see that women swipe on such a small percentage of men. I can't remember the number off the top of my head exactly, but it's less than 15% of guys that women are actually swiping on. And if you ask women and pay attention to their behavior on these dating apps, you'll see that 80% of women want 20% of men. So that means that 80% of men on dating apps are almost completely invisible to women. Now compare that to men. Us men, well, we are a little bit more generous. We sometimes swipe on 60 to 70% of women. So it's a big disparity, and this is just because of the dynamics of biology and how women are wired versus men. Women are wired to be a lot more selective, and the question becomes, how do you become the kind of guy that actually gets and creates attraction in women versus being that guy that's unnoticed, that is undesirable to women? So I'm going to break this down for you on more of like a behavioral thing, although understand that there's a lot of other aspects to attraction that I'm going to cover in other videos, like I said, so make sure you're subscribed. But in this one, I want to talk about the behavioral stuff that guys do that turns women off, that makes them go unnoticed. And I have a bunch of notes in front of me. So let's start with the most obvious one. The guys that chase women are the ones that go unnoticed. Why? Well, you need to think of what you're doing when you chase after a woman. There's a difference between pursuing and chasing. So chasing is when something feels elusive to you. Well, think about it just like on its face. If something's elusive to you, then what does that mean? It means you don't have it, right? So a lot of times what you'll find as a guy is that women oftentimes that are attracted to you, that are into you, you don't even have to do hardly anything. Like, you just do it for them, and they will always kind of, I don't know how to explain this exactly, they'll always just make it easy for you, I guess is the easiest way of saying it, right? They make it easy for you. You don't have to do a lot. You don't have to overthink your text messages, how often you should respond or any of this. They just have a high level of attraction to you, and because of that, you don't really need to do anything too much, right? So when you find yourself in a position of having to chase after a girl, this quite literally means she's not as into you as you otherwise would hope she would be, right? And when guys chase, that signals to her that he is not occupied enough with himself, his life, his mission, and so forth. Like, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of times where at this point in my life where I'm like, if I'm talking to a woman or something, like we've been going out a little bit or whatever, I don't even remember if I responded to her or not, right? I don't even remember. Like, I'm not even thinking about that. Why? Because I'm focused on stuff like this. I'm focused on my clients. I'm focused on, my physique progression and bodybuilding or my band or whatever it is, right? And I'm not thinking about that. Like, I'm occupied by my priorities and what they should be. And that's what women often look for, okay? Because something tells her instinctually when you're chasing after her and you're putting too much effort into her, something's off with this guy. Like, he doesn't have the right masculine frame in his life, and that signals that. So a lot of times too, what you'll see is the guys that are doing this, they live in their head too much, right? They're very overanalyzing, like I was saying, like, what's the right text messages to send? How should I, talk to her? Should I DM her now? Should I reply to this story on Instagram? Or what does it mean when she says this thing to me versus that? Like, I've done all this stuff. I've lived through all this stuff. And I can tell you right now that anytime I was overanalyzing anything, it never worked out for me, right? And what you'll notice as a man is that oftentimes the women that you're like maybe like a 7 out of 10 attracted to, it almost always works. Versus that 9 or 10 attraction level you have, sometimes doesn't work because you're doing exactly what I'm saying. Like, if your attraction's really high, then you start to conduct yourself a little bit differently. And you bleed through exactly what I'm talking about here in all the micro nuanced ways, like the way you're texting her, how you overthink things when you're with her or whatever, right? And this is a hard lesson that all of us have to learn because you eventually learn that you have to treat the women that you really want like on a 9 out of 10 level, like the women you want that are like a 6 out of 10 level. And that's really hard to do. But that's where your instincts have to almost be, so well attuned, and you have to be so dialed into what you're working on in your life that like you're not getting occupied by this as much as you should, or as much as you want to be, I should say. Now, that's another part here, is that the guys that go unnoticed, they often have the energy that screams, please notice me. And this is where I'm going to connect it to the guys that create attraction versus the guys that are going unnoticed, right? The guys that are screaming, please notice me. Like, you're doing a lot of validation baiting. Well, getting validation, wanting validation is a very natural human thing that we have, but it's more of a feminine thing, right? So like when it comes to yourself as a man, your validation needs to be sourced from internally. And this is something all of us have to learn. The more we put it in the hands of women, our parents, our friends, our peers, like followers on YouTube or social media or whatever it is, you're very vulnerable to the reactivity of whoever it is that you're putting in the hands of. What happens when there's no views? This video might not get any views because my channel's new. What happens when that girl's not there to give you the validation anymore? These are all things we have to learn as a man. So the guys that create attraction, they source their own power from internally, because the masculine energy, the masculine force of nature, I should say, is penetrative, meaning that your entire essence as a man is meant to penetrate into the world. You create and dictate the frame of your life and everything that's inside of it. You can think of it like that, right? You can think of yourself as being the man that sets the tone in your life. If you're not setting the tone in your life, if you're letting your girlfriend or you're letting some woman you're talking to or your parents or whoever it is set the tone in your life, you're not acting in accordance with your own masculine nature. And that's why so many guys often feel depressed and anxious. And that's a whole different conversation. But you need to set the tone in your life, right? Now, the whole frame, I want to look at this from a truly behavioral, because like I said, these are more behavioral things I want to talk about in this video, not things like, your style or like your physique or whatever it is. But if you can understand this one concept from when I'm talking about creating attraction and the guys that do attract women, you'll understand this energetically completely by the end of this video. Women chase winners and winners chase their mission. I'm going to say that one more time. Women chase winners and winners chase their mission. Now, remember when I said that guys that go unnoticed in a lot of ways, those guys very often, what do? They chase women, right? Now, what are they not doing when they're chasing women? They're not chasing their mission in life. Every second that you take chasing a woman or spending time on that woman, you need to look at time like the most valuable resource you have in your life, because we all have this finite amount of time on this earth. And every moment that you spend not investing into your highest potential, into your legacy, into the future that you want to build for yourself, and you allocate that to scrolling on TikTok or chasing women or drinking with the boys or whatever. Now, some of this stuff is part of life. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not. But every moment that you spend in your life is an opportunity cost. That opportunity cost is felt deeply in the nervous system of women. Why? Because that's how they're wired. You have to think about this logically. If you understand evolution, you understand old, ancient mating dynamics, you'll understand this. Women are wired to be, as I said in the beginning of this video, selective. Selective. Women are selective. Us men, we're not as selective, right? If she's hot, great, we're in. Most of the time. And then you can't tolerate her later on with her personality, you're out after that. Women are different. Women want the man that is pulling himself into his mission, right? He pulls into his mission. He does not orbit the woman simply because he is so invested in his mission. This is the one simple idea I want to leave you with in this video. You have to be so invested in your mission and what you're building in your life that you don't allocate that time to women. Like, remember when I said I don't sit here and think about, I don't know if I text that girl back, because I don't care. I don't give a shit, right? If she stays or leaves, it makes zero difference in the outcome of my legacy in my life. Almost none. Yes, occasionally you have a woman come through who can help you and assist you and support your mission and stuff. But even that, like, the main mover in that is me. And the main mover in your life is you. And the problem is that most guys don't have a mission. They don't have purpose. They don't have direction. So they bleed that attention, that energy into things like women, into drinking with the boys, into passive coping, scrolling behaviors, things like this. You waste your energy as a man. And a lot of times you waste it on women, right? So what I wanted to do, and what I told you at the end of this video, I was going to give you a gift, is I'm going to make this very easy for you to understand. I built a free training that's at the link in my description, 100% free. You can go and take that right now, okay? You take that training, it's going to teach you how to become magnetic, meaning you're going to attract women in organically. It's called the magnetic effect. I'm going to teach you to build your body, your mind, your life direction, understanding women and female dynamics, and how to attract everything you want in life. So I will see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe. Go take the training now. It'll change your life. I'll see you next time.